Hi, I'm back with Isencane Lengane and how Moja Love is essentially exploiting Tando's suffering for profit.
Umakoti unenkinga ushawo Siacela.
Hawu.
Umanene nomashange nomabhengi abaze bengibikele.
Ushala ngani?
Awuthi ngichaze wawunomnyeni wakho wayenishaya.
Black pain and suffering, as you know, is a lucrative business. It has been exploited by the media, and Moja Love is one such media outlet that is currently reducing the black experience and specifically Tando's suffering under the hands of her husband to entertainment while glorifying. I'm Khoputso, by the way. Welcome to Bioskop and Champagne, a place where we watch movies, series, and especially trash reality television. In today's video, I will be talking about the really trashy, really unfortunate existence that is Isencane Lengane and the reasons why Moja Love will never cancel the show, despite pressure to cancel it from the internet, from organizations that fight against GBV, and from the BCCSA that has already fined them in 2023. This show, unfortunately, has been in existence since 2019, and it follows the lives of Tando and Siacela as they navigate married life.
Into fresh ngiyithanda kahle kahle.
Kodwa nami khona bangibona ngumacece khona bangibona ngiqande ngamele iphihlike phansi.
They have been married since 2016 and had their first child in 2021. She actually found out she was pregnant in 2021 in a very unfortunate episode that aired during that time, which left South Africa very disappointed and very like, why is this happening? Why? But why? It was like watching the destruction of someone's life brick by brick, episode by episode, and it was like we were letting this happen on purpose just to see how everything would turn out. Thando, it seems, sort of likened to a patient zero of reality TV in South Africa. Yes, reality TV has been in existence for decades now, but because South Africa and African Time are in the same WhatsApp group, this type of reality television, it's coming across as very much exploitative. It's sort of like a new occurrence and a new monster that we are sort of grappling with and dealing with, and it is unfortunate to see that she is an example. She is sort of the blueprint of what not to do and how not to do reality television, because there is no care and respect and nuance given to her life and her truth as everything has been unfolding. Moja Love is, in a sense, just not willing to try and give this girl a chance, try to give her the tools in order to save herself. It has been proven before that even when the police are called, even when she is given resources, she still believes in her heart of hearts, in her psyche, that she doesn't deserve better. And she will obviously refuse that help for now. What she needs is therapy.
Okay, mayingangishayanga cha akangithandi.
Sakuthanda.
Indoda kufanele ikushaye ukuze ikhombise ukuthi iyakuthanda.
I feel like Moja Love and Siacela are in the same WhatsApp group in the sense that they both emotionally and psychologically this girl and taking advantage of her in order to make money, because without her there is no show. If she just picked up and left, there is no show, because nobody cares about Siacela because he sucks.
Angisamgezi, angisenzi lutho, ayisekho into engizoyenza, akahlale naleso sinyama.
Mina ngizomkhulumela ushide ngizomtshela uDoti.
He sucks as a partner and as a person. He's only being watched because we want to watch what Thando is going through, which is kind of up when you look at it. So this era of reality television that we are in, and especially when we put Isencane Lengane into that context, is the Wild West of reality television. There are many moments that have defined reality television. Some of these moments may be iconic.
I once was a doctor, then got suspended.
Who went in IT because he was in medicine.
So bofunda kuphi for imits.
When say UJ.
DJ.
But most are exploitative, dehumanizing, and unethical. Moja Love's Isencane Lengane fits the latter descriptions to a T. At its core, the show is a replica of the early days of the reality television genre, when controversy and scandal were king.
Inkinga umakoti uyakhala uthi mala umntu.
Ngisho ngakhala ezebhosha.
Hawe.
Okwami naye lokho.
In these days, there was a clear absence of regulations that were standard practice that led to the exploitation of industry workers. And in this case, I am talking about Thando.
Wavele wangena impama ngisathi ngisazokhipha ukudla. Ngisho ingane isikhala uyangishaya.
Umntwana isikhathi silwa ngithathile ngawumbeka ebhedeni.
Where decades after airing, the contestants or the casts of these shows came back and told us the real story of how the shows they were on ruined their lives forever and have left a lasting and negative impression on their psyche and emotional well-being. Other non-existent labor practices of the Wild West of reality television is how producers pushed and in most cases crossed ethical lines, essentially going too far in the name of documenting real life. Moja Love has, for the past 5 seasons, subjected us to the emotional, mental, and physical. Thando continues to suffer at the hands of her husband Siacela. To date, Isencane Lengane is a staple of the Moja Love channel and must be attracting such a huge audience with its shock value that they are, for the second time in as many years, defending its media malpractice. And for the channel to actively justify the suffering of a young woman in the midst of South Africa's crisis is quite telling of how much the channel itself hates women. What else would incense the channel to continue producing and continue filming when they are witnessing a woman's pain other than to use said pain as a source of drama and entertainment in order to go viral, drive up viewership, and make millions in the process? Why then continue to release generic statements that justify Thando's continued humiliation and dehumanization? Why is Moja Love saying, "Don't shoot the messenger," instead of inciting change for Thando through the implementation of 2 very simple rules? Rule number 1, it is mandatory for the entire cast to attend counseling sessions once a week for the duration of filming. Rule number 2, we do not film if rule number 1 is not adhered to. If anything, Moja Love is exhibiting behavior by taking extensive advantage of Thando's naivete and weakened emotional state. The channel is also willingly withholding the psychological support she actually needs and understands that her ignorance as a result of her mere secondary school education makes her susceptible to unknowingly agreeing to unethical practices that are not in her best interest. And guys, we all know why Moja Love keeps Thando away from expert support. away from therapy. I mean, what would a therapist say? A therapist would deduce that since Thando grew up with her grandmother and her mother was so far away and her father was a deadbeat dad, she is essentially looking for love, this love that it was equivalent to her father's love, in the wrong places. And unfortunately, despite her saving herself for marriage and being the good girl, she still ended up with a really crappy partner. She also grew up and was socialized to idolize marriage. She would rather leave that marriage in a coffin than be ridiculed and be spoken about and gossiped about by the neighbors, by the nation. I mean, think about it. Therapy equips people with the tools to get themselves out of a rut, out of a sticky situation, out of an relationship with the reality show and a husband. Therapy is the biggest threat to the Moja Love bank accounts, because if Thando goes to therapy, she will realize that she has to create boundaries in order to stop the cycle of from Moja Love and Siacela as well. She will systematically take control of her own life and escape economic exploitation and psychological harm brought on by her participation within the show. Also, she will no longer be the main subject of what is clearly a humiliation kink that the channel and in some part the audience is partaking in. The channel and audiences subconsciously derive pleasure in seeing Thando's trauma, her pain, and her tears play out on our TV screens. The way in which audiences rationalize the pleasure that they derive from seeing her pain is to assume that she has consented to this, and also that because the public eye is on her, she then lives in a glass house and thus deserves whatever it is happening to her in that moment, and anything else that we do not even see after the fact. Some audiences might even ask themselves, Vele begayapi, where was she going? Why did she rush into this marriage? Look at the consequences now. She brought all of this misfortune onto herself by rushing into marriage with some boy she just knew from around the way. In that way, we rationalize our very brutal, very unwarranted judgment of someone who has been socialized, someone who has been brainwashed by her husband and by everyone around her, by the channel, to believe that continuing the show is her only option. By watching Isencane Lengane, we are essentially salivating over seeing yet another generation suffer because it is now their turn. Since watching the show does assist Moja Love in raking in the millions that they do every single week, we are also complicit in the continuation of her very toxic situation. If this weren't true, Isencane Lengane wouldn't rake in such big numbers in viewership every Sunday. Moja Love would have silently cancelled this show because it would not have made financial sense to keep airing a show that wasn't bringing in any type of revenue whatsoever. We wouldn't be on the internet right now having a whole discourse about the cancellation of a show because it was glorifying and reinforcing such harmful stereotypes about the Black community. In 2023, the BCCSA fined the channel 50,000 Rand for an episode that explicitly showed involving the couple. Additionally, the show has come under fire when viewers who were greatly concerned for Thando's well-being at the time were advocating for the show to end after seeing Siacela consistently belittle her. And most recently, the backlash has come from Women for Change, an organization that fights against as they have called for the immediate cancellation of the show after this was aired on the 20th of April 2025. Guys, editing Khubuza here. I have been searching for this snippet of the video specifically so that I could put it in this section. I went inside of my DSTV app and the episode has been removed by the broadcaster. I have gone online, searched high and low, and there is not even a whiff of what was aired on the 20th of April. What we did witness, however, is the extent of Siacela's emotional abuse upon, and we saw Thando crying her eyes out, and she was reprimanded for that. She was blamed for crying and was asked repeatedly why she was crying, instead of actually shifting the blame to the person who inflicted the emotional abuse in the first place, which is their son. So it was a mess. Like, she was crying. It was so heartbreaking. And I wish I could have put it in this part of the video, but unfortunately I cannot. The statement that the channel released after the airing of what you just saw was the exact same statement they released back in 2023. All they did was change the date, which shows a lack of care and consideration for the well-being of Thando specifically. As a channel, they have, in continuing to air the show, shown themselves again to be her in keeping her reliant on the show's income to support herself. They have leaned into using her black tax against her in order to forcibly extract her consent to continue filming her toxic marriage and family dynamics.
Ngihamba nginika omunye nami ngizosala ngiphephela omunye.
Ngcono mangifa ngihambe nayo ke. Ikhisi lozokhumela ngithatha nengane ngihamba nayo. Mangizosala ngimuva uzosala nobani?
Ayishanyisa lo. Ungala ngabe uyoshaya ungabuthi ngapha samsukwenza idivorce. Uqonde nje.
Moja Love has essentially manipulated Thando into thinking she needs them to survive, and in turn thinks that she deserves to be humiliated and as a result of marrying too young. They have proven to her and us that it is only toxicity that gains views, likes, and approval from the public, equating her pain with money and putting a price on her mental health, which is, first of all, very unethical, morally corrupt, and shows that Moja Love does not give a whether Thando lives or dies. The fine the BCCSA slapped Moja Love with was likened to a slap on the wrist by Sunday World, and I wholeheartedly agree. Just because what Moja Love did was considered legal, it doesn't mean that it was ethical. The channel's silence is compliance, in that they silently record Thando's painful reality, her emotional, mental, and physical at the hands of her husband, and still do nothing to stop the injustice. There is an active lack of opposition, which translates to an approval of. It also brings into question why BCCSA even exists as a watchdog of South African broadcasting, when Moja Love has gotten away with airing content that implicitly and explicitly depicts without fear of the show's cancellation. The commission seems inconsequential if they couldn't even get Moja Love to act ethically in the first place. All Moja Love has had to do to get the BCCSA off their backs was go on an apology tour with identical statements that were 2 years apart. In comparison, Thando has to sit in the reality that her truth will continue to be sensationalized, her trauma trivialized, and her suffering monetized by Moja Love every Sunday. And since the internet never forgets, her past will always be shoved down her throat, and ours too. Her reality now is that she will always be remembered as the girl who married too young, stayed in a relationship for too long, and either survived or died too soon. She will remain an unfortunate example of a period when South African reality TV was unregulated and exploitative, an era where a life was lost due to chasing numbers over saving lives. And guys, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming this far into the video. I am very appreciative of every single subscriber. We are on the road to 500 subscribers at the moment, and I am humbled by all of the support that I have been getting from all of you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And if you like this video, please like the video. You talk to me in the comment sections. Tell me what you think about Moja Love and them being the equivalent of a Siacela to Thando as well. Tell me what you think in the comment section, and we will have a chat. Guys, thank you so much again. This is your mother Bioskop signing out.